In early 2018, I went to a running shoe store and asked to try on the best running shoes the store had from Hoka. At the time, they recommended the Hoka 1-1 Gaviota. It was certainly an attractive shoe, with a colorway they refer to as Formula One. I had fits with the shoe, however. It wouldn't be until many years later I realized that it was because this was a stability shoe. Because of this experience, I was a bit too shy to try out any of Hoka's other lineups until really about the middle of 2025, when I decided to bury the past and hit the road with the Hoka Mach X. Welcome to the very first AmeLiaRun shoe review. I'm hoping everyone's been staying safe and healthy as you strive towards your goals. Today, I will be reviewing the Hoka Mach X. Like all my reviews, this is made with the hope of creating an accessible resource to assist runners of all experience levels in their search for their right fit. My reviews are time-stamped for easier reference, regardless of where and when buyers are shopping. Covering the nerdy details first, this is a lightweight daily trainer that was released in early 2024. Shoe was originally sold for $149, but you can snag a pair right now for around $100 to $115 or so. I purchased mine from Hoka's website directly in a size 8.5 men's wide. Hoka lists the Mach X at 8.3 ounces or 235 grams. It is worth noting that upon weighing my pair, mine came out to be around 7.81 ounces or about 221 grams. The shoe has a heel stack of 37 millimeters with a forefoot stack of 32 millimeters to make for a 5 millimeter heel to toe drop. It's composed of supercritical EVA foam, which for Hoka essentially means it is a rubbery plastic mix that goes through a specific process that creates lighter and durable foams that have a bounce to them that many runners would classify as energy return. Getting into style and fit for this shoe, it is worth noting that the testing outlets such as Run Repeat have had the Mach X heel to toe drop tested at about 9.6 millimeters. But as somebody whose Achilles tendons seem to be made of glass, felt closer to that advertised 5 millimeters towards the end of my runs. My poor Achilles did appreciate, however, this gusseted padding in the heel counter. From what I've been seeing, this seems to be a design choice that Hoka has been carrying into many of their other shoes. It makes me excited to try out other models in their lineup. There is a thinner tongue that doesn't cause any issues while dialing in lacing. I also adore these nice stretchy laces. I did find the Jacquard upper to be quite breathable, which made this a mainstay for those hotter summer months of training. The fit for me was just right with a small adjustment to lacing, which I find that is usually a prerequisite for my small but very tall and hobbit-like feet. Something I very much appreciated from Hoka was just how many colorways there were available in wider sizes, no less, for the same price as their standard width ones. It's a pet peeve of mine when wider sized shoes are only available in like black and white or gray. You're like, hey, I really like this nice vibrant blue and green colorway. And it's like, well, buddy, you better get used to black and white. So it's really nice to see Hoka's kind of with the times and knowing that not everybody is a standard fit for their shoes. Getting into the ride for the Mach X, this is just plain solid. It is a workhorse daily trainer. For me, it was mostly cushioned with a touch firm feel underfoot, but I never felt like I had to let off my strikes to prevent any uncomfortable motions. Reading other reviews, it seems like folks generally find the Mach X to be rather cushioned. Compared to other cushioned trainers, these have felt like they have a bit more ground feel. It's definitely worth in this part of the discussion to consider that like ground feel can sometimes feel like a Faustian deal. Maybe when I'm in the mood for a firmer ride, maybe something a little bit more with ground feel, I end up having to sacrifice comfort for that energy return. That's not really the case here. Lightweight shoes can sometimes feel aggressive or harsh on the feet, even, but the Mach 6 had just enough bounce to handle like a 3-4 mile run I took it on pretty much any time. I never had any issues with lockdown. I had a blast zipping around town in these. There's great feedback overall. Stopped and went pretty seamlessly. The only real negative I can note for myself was that during one run, I took these out on a longer session. As I hit maybe around 6 miles or so, I felt a slight discomfort in my Achilles, but given my health, that's more than likely on me. But if you do have Achilles issues, maybe give that a look in your consideration. I don't think it's the shoe. I think it's more of, again, like I said, I'm brittle. Getting into durability of the shoe, Hoka remarks that the Mach 6 is designed with enhanced durability and strategic rubber coverage in the outsole. So I ran in these shoes from April 2025 until December of 2025 for well over 100 miles, but the wear on this outsole is minimal. It's very impressive. For me, as most of my long wear reviews will show, most of my wear comes from my lateral side here. I underpronate, supinate, and then also kind of I'm a midfoot striker, so you'll see some midfoot exposed foam that sometimes wears down or even chips off. There's no real chipping on this. Like this could go another 100 miles easily. I was very impressed with these as far as their durability. And this is even like with some runs on snow and ice. Usually that's like a surefire life shortener when it comes to running out this way. So I would say that I wouldn't hesitate to take this another 100, even 200 more miles. Getting into versatility for this shoe. It's advertised as a daily trainer with enough energy return to ease maybe your faster runs. I can confidently say that my Mach 6 handled tempo and progression runs with poise. What's more is this trainer really achieves this versatility without a plate. Maybe if you're a little gun shy to wearing plated trainers, this is a really solid pick if you're looking for something that doesn't have a nylon or carbon plate that might be able to handle tempo and maybe even some anaerobic runs built into also your daily cushioned runs. I'm sure what I mentioned earlier about having some discomfort on a long run in these is just my health. I wouldn't be afraid to try these out for a long run, especially with consideration of having your one trainer. Getting into the value. For a daily trainer, and especially at a price right now where it's around 105 to 140, with available wide and standard width sizing, it feels like solid value for what you get. There's plenty of colorways still to choose from. It's not like, you have to pick between slim pickings on 2-3 colorways left. Hoka's website has like almost all of them still, and good supply too, it looks like. The shoe runs fast when you need it to. It bounces for you along daily runs, and it keeps locked down comfortably. I wouldn't necessarily wear this to work, but that's also because I usually tend to veer more towards having like super max cushion shoes for my work shoes or for my walking shoes, but that's not to the fault of this shoe at all. It's really hard to argue against this being on the short list for the best trainers for the money. And what's more, I think it might be one of the best trainers for beginner runners too. Getting into relatives for the Hoka Mach 6. It can be helpful to share and compare other daily trainers within the Hoka family. The first of these is the Hoka Clifton 10, Hoka's iconic daily trainer. Whereas the Mach 6 might feel bouncy and a bit firm with its ground feel, the Clifton trades energy return for extra cushioning. It's got a bit more weight, listed at 9.8 ounces or 277 grams on Hoka's website. It has a higher heel-to-toe drop at a listed 8.0 millimeters and a 42 millimeter heel stack and 34 millimeter forefoot stack. This trainer is also hailed for having wider sizes. It's got wide and extra wide as options. And it's actually kind of a slight stability shoe. It's kind of a sleeper there, despite being advertised as a neutral shoe. So that's worth consideration if you're looking for maybe you have some mild discomfort when it comes to overpronation. Your mechanics might need some tweaking. I definitely give these a look. Try these on side by side with the Mach 6 if you go to try them on. Another shoe within the Hoka family worth discussing is the Hoka Bondi 9. The Bondi is a max cushion option alternative to the Mach 6. It has a heavier weight of 10.5 ounces or 297 grams, but it also has a similar 5 millimeter heel to toe drop. Where this certainly differs, however, is that the Bondi is listed at a significantly higher 43 millimeter heel stack with its 4-foot stack of 38 millimeters. So it kind of wears that stack differently than the Mach 6. Like the Clifton, it's also available in wide and extra wide sizes. Price wise, though, the Bondi will cost you more, ranging from around 140 to 170. Its foam makeup is similar enough to the Mach 6, though, that it's worth considering cross shopping with the Mach 6 if you're looking for maybe a bit higher stack, maybe a little bit more. Then finally, within the Hoka family, if you liked the Mach 6 but would rather have a trainer with some plating in the formula, Hoka has just the ticket for you with the Mach X3. So this premium super trainer is essentially the Mach 6 with introducing what they call a P-Bax plate. What that is it's like a plastic polymer. It adds kind of a snappy extra support. That's what you're going to find in more of your super trainers. You might hear some shoes using plastic, nylon, or carbon, or all of the above. The addition of the plastic polymer plating in the midsole brings the cost of the Mach X3 to $190. And unfortunately, the shoe can be challenging to find in. It sits at 8.9 ounces, or 252 grams, and a heel stack more similar to the Bondi than the Mach 6 at 44 millimeters with a 4-foot of 39 millimeters for that 5 millimeter heel to toe drop. Having worn these on a test run, I can say that I had issues with how narrow they felt for me. I would have loved to have tried the wide sizes. I'm curious to see if the wider sizes alleviate some of that narrow fit, but it's interesting to cross shop this with the Mach 6 because the Mach 6 still did feel like it had a little bit more volume even before I was switching up the lacing on it. Now that we've reviewed the Mach 6, let's take a look at some alternative options to cross shop. Now, I wanted to keep this within $100 to $150 to match that price range of the Mach 6, as well as help shoppers stay within a budget. I also omitted any plated daily trainers, as these alternatives I'm trying to have as close to the Mach 6 as possible. The first shoe that I'm sure will be recommended anywhere and everywhere would be the Adidas Adizero Evo SL. It's not hard to understand why the shoe is such a shoe-in, and I apologize for that pun, but a shoe-in recommendation. Much like the Mach 6, this is a lightweight trainer with a rocker geometry weighing in at 7.9 ounces or 224 grams with an advertised 6.5 millimeter heel to toe drop. This fashionable shoe oozes with versatility and aesthetics for $120 to $150. Of note, shoppers may find the tongue is dramatically less comfortable than the Hoka, and the laces can leave a whole lot to be desired. At the time of production of this video, I am working on an Evo SL review, so be sure to check back for that soon. I also know that the Evo SL has a couple different versions, some different variants coming out here in the coming months. It'll be interesting to see how those look. Next up, for those who are looking for a bit more cushion, the ASICS Novablast 5 is ASICS' best-selling daily trainer that remains pound for pound one of the mainstays in the daily trainer market. This is a more cushioned rocker geometry daily trainer. It's priced around $149. As a disclaimer, I have not had a chance to run in a pair of Novablasts 5 per se. However, I did put over 300 miles in a pair of the Novablast 4. Despite being more cushioned, the Novablast 5 is only actually slightly heavier than the Mach 6 at 9 ounces, or 255 grams, and it has a heel-to-toe drop of 8.0 millimeters. The Novablast carries its version of a supercritical foam known as FF Blast Max, and a similarly accommodating Jacquard upper to the Mach 6. If the Mach 6 felt a bit firm for you, or if you think you might need a bit more cushion, and you're afraid of adding too much weight to your shoe, Novablast 5 might serve as that right balance and is certainly worth comparing with the Mach 6. Finally, if energy return's your priority, the PUMA Velocity Nitro 4 is worth a look. At 8.6 ounces, or 245 grams, the Velocity Nitro is about as close to weight as we're going to get to the Mach 6 on this list. It's an energetic shoe, it has an attractive design, and it sits significantly higher at 10 millimeters heel-to-toe drop. Despite that higher drop, it wears it completely different from the Mach 6, and I'd even argue different from the Novablast 5, in that it doesn't have that rocker geometry. So you can expect a more grounded, old-school kind of ride. Whereas this has a nice rocker to it. You know, you're looking at kind of you're doing more of the work with the traditional geometry, but I think from the way that it's using that heel-to-toe drop, you're going to get some cushioning in different spots. Of note, however, I found difficulties with getting the right fit for myself with this shoe. Unfortunately, I couldn't really find something I can get along with for this shoe, so I ended up not going with it. I will say, though, I was able to remedy this issue with another PUMA, the Magnify Nitro 2. So, you know, your results may vary. So final thoughts, I have to hand it to the Mach 6. It really brought me back around to just how much fun Hoka running shoes can be. This was my biggest surprise of last year. Even if I was tardy to the party, there were definitely days where I had even had newer shoes I wanted to take for a spin, but I kept gravitating towards the one with the birds on the side of them. I was impressed with just how well these trainers held up, and I would not hesitate to recommend this shoe to anyone, really, for consideration, be it new, you're looking for something that's a jack of all trades, or you just want a good value shoe with how it's priced right now. Maybe, if you take nothing else away from this review, it just goes to show that it could be well worth giving a running shoe brand a second chance. I hope you found this video informative towards any shopping or just entertaining in general. Let me know if you have any questions or requests I can take into consideration. Remember to follow me on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at AmeLiaRun52. And please stay healthy and safe out there as you strive towards your goals. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.